Welcome back, you guys. This is Mark with NCEngravers, and today we're going to be working on the Shield Plus model slide. Now, we have a local customer here in North Carolina that's had some work done with us in the past. They actually called me and said, hey, I want to send another one in, but I'm looking for something that's not on the web page. Is it something you can do? Is it something you can design? And we kind of went through those details. And really what it comes down to is we've had a lot of customers ask for front serrations. They're looking for something a little bit more aggressive. Obviously, these are used as a carry weapon, and we're looking for something that's not over the top with a lot of holes, but it is something that's a little bit more aggressive in the front end when doing a hand over top type of cycling, and just making it a little bit more of a pleasurable duty weapon, having a little bit more texture towards that front zone. So the idea was send it in, let me take a look, let me see what I can come up with, and that's when I had decided we should do a video on this to educate you guys a little bit more on this exact service, and once it gets listed on the web page, you guys will be able to order that service. We're going to have some finer details on this exact design and how it would maybe work with some of the other designs that are already offered on the webpage, and we'll discuss that at the end once we happen to have a final design in hand. So guys, one of the issues that we run into with the Shield model slides is, of course, there's a Gen 1, there's a Gen 2, and then there is now the new Plus, is that this text is actually over into where the barrel would be. So typically, if you guys have been following the channel for quite some time, you understand that I do not like to cut through and leave partial text left over. Whenever that is possible, we won't do that unless it's just some kind of a wild design or a one-off and the customer's like, do your thing, I want the design, I don't care about the text. But our typical services that are offered on the webpage are a very clean look. And what we don't want is partial text left over. So if you happen to look at the right side of the weapon, we have the Smith & Wesson. Of course, it's got some additional text from its location here. And then when we roll it, we're going to notice that we have the M&P 9 shield, but the Plus is sticking over where the barrel is. This causes somewhat of an issue of just doing front serrations, because we would have this left over, right? Because we're not going to cut that far back on that side, and they need to match. So we do have to do a step down that comes all the way to the rear of the slide. You guys have probably seen that on our existing patterns we offer now with the side windows. So we do a step down, and then we do two windows. So we're going to run into that same issue that we're running into with our side windows on this slide, and that is we need to come up with a pattern to remove the LUS off the side of the slide that's going to be left over, right? So we are going to do a step down. That's going to be from the front all the way to the rear. It's going to be a little bit different than when we do our side window, so you're going to want to pay attention there. If you had shield work done, or you're thinking about having shield work done, you can do a comparison between what is offered on the webpage with, say, the Raptor cut with side windows and what is offered with the shaved side with serrations on this. So there is a little bit of a change there, so that'll be kind of unique for some of you that have been following for some time. It is going to be a little bit new design. So aggressive front serrations, optic cut we're going to be doing on the top rear. Of course, we'll show that at the end. I don't know what we're going to be doing up here on the front zone. I do know that I have a lot of creative freedom on this. If I want to try something, adjust something, make the top and the sides flow together. I think where I'm at with it right now is I don't think I want to have any holes in the slide. And once again, this idea is subject to change as we go. Once we have sides cut, maybe we'll add something to it. I don't know that yet, but I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to lean towards no holes in the slide to kind of leave it more of what would be just a straight up carry weapon. But once again, you never know with me. We might just cut a hole. Guys, I think at this point in time, what we need to do is we need to get over to the CNC machine. We need to shave those sides down. We need to get those serrations cut. We've got an optic to cut in here into the socket in the back as well. We're going to see what other work we can come up with between now and then. We'll bring it back and we'll discuss, and let's just see what we come up with. All right, guys, let's take a look and see exactly how this came out in the end now that we have a final product in hand. Guys, one of the things I want to tell you is that I went ahead and actually filmed the end segment of this video. I had my camera on the wrong setting, and it appears as though there was no audio attached to the video. The project has actually shipped back out to our local customer here in North Carolina. So I'm going to do my best to kind of go over the content that's at the end of this video. It's more of an audio overlaying a different version of the video. So I'm going to do my best to kind of pair those up and align those the best I can. There are a couple of things that I found out that I did not know until I got all the way into this build. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. First and foremost, this is what it looks like as a final product. This is Magpul OD Green. We ended up doing a side shave, the front very aggressive serrations optic cut on this particular model. For this example, it is the EPS optic on the slide. One of the things I want to talk about just a little bit is how aggressive these front serrations are, okay? If you've been following our channel for quite some time, then you probably have seen these serrations on a different build. We've done them on the CZP-10, we've done them on several of the Glocks. The idea here is that we used to call them a dragon serration or an edge serration. They were really designed for the edge of a slide and not so much on the side of a slide, okay? If you're looking for something that's extremely durable, aggressive, that's the exact reason I created this design, okay? It was full duty functionality and not really appearance. So when the customer came to us, of course, we had talked about that at the beginning of the video. They were looking for something that we could do to the slide that was going to enhance the carry ability of the slide, right? So this is what this pistol is going to be used for, is a duty and a carry pistol. And it seemed as though this made the most sense to me. We could obviously do a different style of serration. We offer several different versions of serrations, but really at the end, this was something that was kind of over the top, super functional, and it seemed to make the most sense. And of course, we wanted to create something new for the industry that we have built around our Shield platform, right? So we want to offer something that we don't typically see. One of the other things is on the top of the slide, that is our standard knurling. So anti-reflective type of a finish on there. If you're outside shooting, maybe even if you're inside shooting and there's a lot of lights, what you're not going to get is a lot of glare between the rear iron sight, the optic, and the front iron sight, because there's so many different facets on the top. It's going to kind of shed that glare or that sheen that would maybe come down and back in towards your eye. So we do happen to see that once again on a lot of the higher end 1911s. There's a lot of different versions that are out there of slides of the higher end manufacturers that are doing that style of work. And of course, that's one of the reasons that we added it back to the ultimate carry kind of setup. All right, guys, so once again, laying this audio over kind of what's going on with the video. One of the things that we have on our webpage is that we've got a little note there when you place your order, and it says if you do an optic cut, the front and rear factory iron sights will work with the optic. Okay, so it's a co-witness setup with the way that the optic lays with the factory iron sights, right? So you don't need to replace the factory iron sights. So with that being said, you're going to notice on this slide that these are not factory sights, they're actually night vision sights. We do not have an issue as far as how does it work? You know, how does the co-witness still set up even with an aftermarket set of sights? So we're still going to usually see no issues as far as a co-witness with an optic. It is a warning, a little bit of a warning that I'm giving you, because the webpage is geared a little bit more towards the factory iron sights will work with the optic. And we say it that way just because there's so many different versions of aftermarket sights that are out there that we can't control all of them or how that's going to work or how that's going to lay, right? So we want to make sure that you are well aware factory iron sights are going to work with an optic setup. The optic is only offered in the configuration of cut in front of the rear iron sight. And we're not 100% sure what we're going to run into with aftermarket iron sights. I've brought this to your attention because there's something I found out that I didn't know until we did this project. Now, if you've been playing around on YouTube, you've probably spent a lot of time reviewing different optics with the EPS, with the 407K, the 507K, of course, the range of optics that fit that same socket. And we're not going to reinvent the wheel, right? I'm not here to create a video to tell you something you already know from a product reviewer who does a better job than me. What I am going to do is tell you something that you probably didn't know and maybe none of those reviewers actually brought to your attention. So, one of the things is, on this exact build that we have here, we do have the EPS carry on the slide, and I went ahead and looked and did a little bit of a comparison a couple weeks ago about the 407 and 507K. What's the difference in them? Does one socket fit them all, right? And really what it comes down to is front to back, left to right, even height, right? From the bottom of the optic all the way to the top of the optic, they are the same. Dimensionally, they're the same, right? So we don't see any change there. One of the things that caught me off guard, and I had installed this EPS on this slide, and once again, I was looking at iron sights because we're not dealing with factory iron sights. So the first thing that came to my mind was, wow, is this going to work? And really, I had noticed looking down there that they were really closer than I had thought with the EPS. I thought it was a really tight kind of co-witness. We weren't getting a lot of extra height that maybe we would see with the factory set iron sights. So I pulled that optic off and I did a little bit of a comparison between that and the 407K and realized that the rear iron sight on the EPS actually sets lower on that optic than it does with the 407 and 507K. So of course we're going to include some pictures. You're going to be able to see that a little bit better. The idea here is that if you're doing a 407 or a 507K, and if you have factory iron sights, that optic built-in rear iron sight sets a little bit higher, okay? And on the shield that we're doing here in the project today, we may not see a lot of changes to that. We may not have a lot of issues with that kind of a setup, but there are a lot of different setups that we do offer. The Hellcat, if you don't have an OSP, you can get cut for an optic, but you lose your rear dovetail. The P365, another great example. If you're wanting to get an optic cut, you have the option of removing the rear dovetail. Even the X model of the P365X or the XL, those don't have a built-in rear iron sight. And with the built-in rear iron sight in the EPS being lower, I don't know how this is going to cause an issue with it not being tall enough to work with the factory front sight that come on some of those guns, right? So that's one of the reasons I'm bringing it to your attention. If you aren't using factory iron sights, or if you are just straight up removing the rear iron sight from the gun and only using the one built into the EPS carry, you may find yourself running into a problem with how it aligns with the front sight because it's just not as tall, right? So I didn't know if you guys were aware of that. Once again, I didn't know that. Hopefully, if I've educated you on something that you did not know, you'll hit the like button. You'll follow along and subscribe. I do try to bring this stuff to your attention if it happens to be relevant to what we're doing, right? If something catches me off guard, more than likely it probably caught you off guard. So try to point you guys in the right direction before you're placing your orders. One of the last things I want to talk about is those front serrations one more time. So one of the advantages of these front serrations is that they're so aggressive that you can actually rack your slide off your pants with one hand when they're processed on a larger slide. I'm not saying we're going to be able to do that with the shield. There's not a lot of grip room there, but when you're doing on a Glock 19, 19X, CZP-10, you're actually able to one-handedly cycle your slide because they're that aggressive. Okay, so that's one of the things that kind of just encourages you or explains it a little bit better of how aggressive these front serrations actually are. There's a lot of texture there. There's a lot of grip strength in the serrations themselves. So it's kind of an over-the-top kind of a pattern. There's a lot of cool features that are designed on that. One of the other things I want to bring to the table and make note of is there's probably going to be some additional services that you guys are going to start to see. Cobra knows with this setup, right? Because of course this setup is already on the webpage. You can go and process this order now. There is a link in the bottom of this video description that brings you directly there. Of course, you can go to our webpage and find it. But I think we're going to start to see additional services. The Cobra knows. I could see us probably doing some top cuts along with these side cuts, right? Maybe we'll do a window. That'd be a pretty simple one since it doesn't really touch the sides. Something a little bit more advanced would be maybe those edge serrations or our Raptor cuts. Any of those, I believe, could be done with these front side serrations. So at some point, if they become popular, people are looking a little bit more for the aggressiveness and a little less for the side window openness, we may actually make it where when you process your Raptor cuts, you can choose side windows or you can choose side serrations, right? So it would kind of be an either or. So I'm thinking that that might be an option that would hit our webpage in the future. If you want to leave a comment and you think that's a great idea, please let us know and leave a note on that. Guys, feel free to follow along. It was posted on Instagram before it was posted anywhere else. Of course, all that stuff gets moved over to Facebook. Those accounts are open, right? You don't have to have an account to look at those. You can use a computer and go onto our Instagram. It won't bother you quite as much as your phone. Your phone's going to want you to download the app, but you are able to go on there. You can kind of look around, see what's going on, and get some examples. We would definitely encourage you to follow along on our YouTube channel. We just happen to have a lot of content. There's new stuff coming out, and it encourages other people to follow along when they do see videos that were liked, when they do see stuff that was shared. So it's kind of one of those evolving processes. We do more if we see that the people happen to like it more, then we continuously create new content. Feel free to leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts on this. And of course, you can catch us on the next one.